Hey there, Synthrones. It is another edition of Midnight Synthesizer Talk. Hi, I'm Pure Ambient Drone, and this is my channel where I vlog about synthesizers. So hit the subscribe button, tap that bell. You will be able to keep up with all of my synth adventures by doing so. JamesDrone.com, that's the place to be to connect with me, JamesDrone.com. Midnight Synthesizer Talk. This is episode number 7. Hello, everyone out there. What am I doing here? Well, I'm trying out a new experiment. And this is where I just talk on the microphone and we calmly listen to synth talk. Now, you can listen to this in your car if you like. You can listen to it at breakfast. You can listen to it snuggled up with your favorite pillow in bed. Whatever you fancy, that's up to you. And there are no visuals to be distracted by, just synth talk. I upload currently at 10 p.m. every night so far, and that way you have time to go to bed and watch it. If you go to bed early, sometimes we have to go to bed early, right? And other times we like to stay up late and just listen to synthesizers. That's what I like to do. I like to hear about synthesizers. I like to talk about synthesizers. I like to look at synthesizers. Just thinking about synthesizers, it gives me gas. You know what I mean? So let's talk about the Moog Slim Phatty and my secret project. Okay, so I have been working on poly chaining 4 Slim Phatties into a rack, and I did a video on it yesterday and released it here on my channel. But why, if I already own the Moog 1? Well, you know what? I own more than one sequential synthesizer, and many people own more than one type of Moog synthesizer. And I thought, well, what if I could have the best of both worlds? And I actually owned 2 polyphonic Moog synthesizers, and they weren't both Moog 1s. So I did it kind of the hard way, if you will. These are not cheap. Slim Phatties, they run anywhere between $500 and $700, give or take. And I had to get these one at a time. I had to find them. I had to hook them all up. It can be tedious. It's not too difficult to learn how to do it. There are a few things that I would forget here and there. I would make a few mistakes, but you know what? It all came together in the end. And I think it sounds fantastic. Now, the Moog 1 is a beautiful sounding synthesizer. And it has all the knobs laid out in front of you. And it has all of the special effects that you would ever dream of in a synthesizer of this caliber. It is smooth, it is buttery, like cream. But it's not a Slim Phatty, nor is the Slim Phatty a Moog 1. 2 different flavors. And remember, we've talked about this on this channel before. You have your chocolate ice cream and you have your vanilla ice cream. And sometimes you want both, and that's when you have to get the twisted cone. And that's what I did. I twisted things up. Now, this is a really interesting, very interesting research for me, if you will. It's an experiment. And I thought when I first tried it that there was going to be all kinds of glitches and strange anomalies. But you know what? It turned out beautiful. Now, it's only 4 voices, but I can always add more. With the Slim Phatty or even a Little Phatty chained in there, I can get up to 16 voices max. I would never want to go that high, though. I did with the Moog 1. I have a 16 voice Moog 1. Okay. I just thought it was economically feasible for me to do it, so why not? And you can never have too many synth voices, right? But this would be much more expensive, and a lot of space would be ate up trying to rack 16 Slim Phatties or combine them with Little Phatties. That would be very, extreme. But I'm thinking anywhere between 6 or even 8. Now, a person could actually get 8 of these in 2 different racks because my rack holds 4. So I would have 2 racks for each. And I would be able to link all of these up into 8 voices. But even then, I think that's a little extreme. Um, 6 is such a good number for synth voices. You've got your Juno 106, you've got your Juno 2, you've got your Prophet 6, your OB6. All of them are 6 voice analog synthesizers. And there's a bunch more I can name too. And they do just fine. That is plenty of polyphonic power. But sometimes you want a little bit longer on the release for doing nice, lush pads. You can get away with that on a 6 voice. I have. It's just nice to be able to get away with it all the time without thinking too hard about it on an 8 note. Just something to dream about. I don't even know if I'll go past the 4. It's just such an expensive thing to do. You're looking. I'm already into it by I think about $2,500, give or take, because you have to have a mixer too. All of these have to be plugged into their own mixer. Now I could plug them into my own mixer over here, but I like to have everything centralized into its own mixer, and I've got a little mini mixer, and then have that go out into my main mixer. That way, I have it right there in front of me with the Moog Slim Phatties, and it's very accessible. So that's how I do that. So that's what I've been up to. This has been my secret project that I've been talking about. And if you haven't seen the video, it's on my channel. I uploaded it yesterday, so it's there for you to watch and to enjoy. A good set of headphones or a great set of speakers is always the best thing to listen to demos on to really get an essence of what is being portrayed through the video and the sound. So I have been up to making some new soft pad music, and I thought, and this is where the Slim Phatty idea came from. I thought, wouldn't it be really great to add the Slim Phatty into the mix of pads and soft textures? And you can do that with a mono poly. You can do it. I've done it, but it's so much easier and more lush, if you ask me, when you have a polyphonic analog synthesizer on the caliber of a Moog. Now, when it comes to Moog and their sound, I don't think anybody gets it as good as they do. Moog has a unique sound all their own. And yes, people try to imitate that sound and some come very close, but there's just something special about the Moog sound. And I really enjoy the Slim Phatty's Moog sound. It was the last synthesizer that Bob Moog himself was actually involved in. And he never did actually get to see it to production, as far as I understand. I believe it was released after his passing. So I think it just makes that synthesizer even so more special because it was the last synthesizer that Mr. Bob Moog was involved in. And what a great contribution that he has made to the synth world with all of his lifetime work with synthesizers. We should be so grateful that we're living in a time where we can be so spoiled with the choices of synthesizers that we currently have. We have so many synthesizers on the market. And in the last 4 years, we've seen a lot of resurrection of vintage gear being cloned. And we can get into the big debate that Behringer synthesizers aren't 100% what synthesizer is. I mean, even if a company went back and cloned their own stuff, I don't think it would be 100% identical. Time passes, people change, and the people involved have changed as well. And what I mean by that is that the same people in some situations at these companies, they've come and they've gone. And so designs and ideas, they've been switched around, and that's not always a bad thing. I talk a lot about Behringer on this channel because they are being proactive. They're bringing synthesizers to the market. And we need that push to spur other synth companies into action. You know the old saying, you snooze, you lose. Behringer is spurring the other synth companies to do several things. One of them is to be innovative because now these synth companies know We can't keep pumping out the same products every year in a different package because Behringer is on our heels and they're going to overtake us if we slow down. No, we have to come up with something innovative. That's what I believe many of these synth companies are thinking to themselves. But they're thinking something else too. Behringer has inexpensive synthesizers, and therefore we have to compete with that as well. Because think about it, if you're a synth company with a synthesizer in the range of $2,000, just imagine the consumer thinking to himself, how many Behringer synthesizers he could buy for that $2,000. Whereas if he spent it on the higher price synth for 2K, he'd only get one synthesizer. Now, I'm not saying that a Behringer synthesizer is equal to a $2,000 flagship synth. That's not what I mean. But in the consumer's mind, having several Behringer synthesizers, like a Studio Full for $2,000, could be very appealing and even more appealing than just having one synthesizer for the $2,000 in their studio. Get the drift? So that's very important that synth companies are actually realizing that they have to come out with sub 1,000 synthesizers in order to compete. And this is why we're seeing the Mother 32 and the DFRAM and all of the other sub 1,000 synthesizers coming out from Moog. And we're also seeing products coming out from Roland that are sub 1,000, like their MC707, right? And their MC101, their little groove boxes, and even some of their keyboards, such as their JDXI, sub 1,000. Why? Because they have to have a variety of product to compete on the market. Now, to be fair to Roland, they've always had a JDXI before. Well, I should say they always, but they've had a JDXI before Behringer got into the synth world. I get it. But the point is that all of these synth companies are going to have to be innovative and they're going to have to be competitive. Why? Because a new player has joined in. And that player is Behringer. So love them, hate them, whatever, you don't care. They're still going to be an important part in the synth world. And on top of that, they're also going to be here to stay. Now, I didn't mention this before, but I actually got to speak with Yuli himself a couple of nights ago. And it was very refreshing to see him coming to me and speaking with me and telling me that he actually watches my videos. Wow. I'm like, this guy could watch anything he wants. He doesn't even have to watch YouTube. He could fly around the world at the drop of a hat. Why is he watching my videos? And he did thank me for my support, but he didn't write a check out. He didn't give me a bunch of synthesizers. He informed me that Behringer does not give out synthesizers in exchange for positive reviews. I didn't even ask him for myself. I just wanted to know. I point blank asked him, do you guys give out synthesizers in exchange for favors, for favorable reviews, for propaganda? No. He told me that they're at rock bottom prices already with their synthesizers and that anything lower and they wouldn't be able to do this. So how could they afford to just be giving these out? And how could they afford to be making deals with people when they're already cheap enough? They're already at a price range that Behringer is probably making what? $10, $30 for their modules profit. Now you got to understand they sell lots of these, and I really don't know what the profit margin is. I'm just guessing at this point. But the real point of this is that I wanted some answers. Now, for all of you guys listening, I begged him to give me some info on the release date of the UBXA. I just couldn't get him to budge. And I understand why he wouldn't do that. And yes, 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 before the comments flood all over the place, I did ask Yuli about the RD9. All I can tell you is when it comes to the UBXA and the RD9, mum is the word. He's not said anything to me about it. Believe me, I tried. I couldn't get anything out of him. But Yuli, if you're watching, you know how to get a hold of me, and it would be great if you would throw me a bone. I would really like some inside information so I could share it here with all of your fans, because there are a lot of fans of Behringer gear, even though that there is a few small groups out there that claim they hate Behringer, they still buy their product. Even those who claim they don't like Behringer, they're still buying Behringer gear. It's funny because I see YouTubers all the time complain about Behringer and individuals, and then they go off and buy the Behringer gear. It's so funny. It's like, say what you want to, but you're spending your money the same place I am. So I think that's interesting. Well, I guess I'm going to cut this one here a little short. Usually I like to go up to about 20 minutes, but I thought that I would just cut it a little bit short tonight. It's been a long day. I mean, you get worn out playing with 4 massive Slim Phatties in a rack, poly chained up together, right? So if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button, tap that bell, and above all, keep calm and synth on.